Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. I am your one and only host. No, I am not Ron Luce. I am not Joey Ricotta. I am not Tyler Edmonds, and I am not Rich. I am Nick Hudson. I am here live to break down a Cubs victory. Cubs take this one 5-2. They open the homestand strong. Just a great game overall. I'm excited to break this one down for you. This is normally where we would ask each other how we're doing today. So I'm going to ask the audience, how's everyone doing? Throw it in the comments. Tuesday. No one likes Tuesdays. Ron Luce hates Tuesdays. I had a pretty good Tuesday, but the Cubs made it a great Tuesday. So we're going to just hop right into this one. This was a great game. I really thought that this was one of those games that you needed, just vibes-wise. It felt like things were turning for the worse after you lose that series in Houston. Things are just getting a little tight in the division. So it was good to start off this one strong and set yourself up for a possible sweep now. Top of the first inning, Boyd finds himself in a little bit of trouble. He has first and second, nobody out, but he works out of that jam, strikes out two. That was huge there. That could have really gone off the rails quick. Bottom of the second, real interesting inning for the Cubs there. PCA and Dansby both with singles. They start out strong. You have first and third, nobody out, and Michael Busch continues to be that guy. He delivers. He knocks in PCA, and Dansby gets to second. Then Carson Kelly, who has been, kind of slow lately, but he's heating up again, pops one out into the gap, left center field, and Dansby and Busch score all the way from first. That was an interesting one. So Busch was at first base, and Quentin Berry, credit to him, he sends him home. The throw was way offline, no chance to get him. Cubs go up 3-0. Then it gets really weird. It was a really, really strange end of that inning. So then Kelly is thrown out at home trying to score on a ball that gets away from the catcher, which was debatable if he should have taken that with nobody out. I wouldn't. It's a risk where you're already in scoring position with nobody out. Why chance it? So he gets out there. Then Nico Horner is picked off at first. Matt Shaw walks, and then he gets picked off. So that's two people picked off in the same inning, which is weird enough. Later on, Matt Boyd, who is going to pick off somebody, he picks off a guy. That makes it 3 pickoffs. That's the most in an MLB game this year, 3 pickoffs. So if you are going to do a bet in any of Matt Boyd's starts, I would always bet that he's going to pick someone off. He has one of the best pickoff moves in the league. If you haven't seen it, go watch. It's unbelievable. So top of the fourth, Guardians are going to get 2 runs back. They make it 3-2. But the Cubs wouldn't look back. Say it hits a bomb in the 6th inning, tag on another one. It was a bomb. It was a moonshot. And then that was all she wrote for that one. They end up 5-2. My offensive player of the game is going to be Michael Busch. He has just been great. He went 3 for 3 today, just quietly a weapon on this Cubs team. You have to remember, with a guy like Michael Busch, he's a young guy, and to be coming into this role and just be delivering in such a power, hungry lineup where you got guys all the way at the top just delivering day in and day out, names that get talked about even on the national stage. And then you just got Busch, who does not stop producing. He just continues to go out there. He's that consistent bat in the lineup, and he does it again tonight. And there's been many games this year that if you go back in the box score and you really look at it, Michael Busch carries the team to victories. And this was one of them. He kicks it off, with that big hit, and then goes 3 for 3 the rest of the night with a walk. So, Michael Busch, you can't say enough good things about that guy. He's got a great glove at first as well. He filled a big hole with, first base. That's not a position that the Cubs have been able to easily fill, and he's been able to do it, with flying colors. So that's been great to see. And so he's going to be my offensive player of the game for today. But I want to talk about Matthew Boyd. I actually wrote an article about Matthew Boyd and how he should be in the All-Star game. And he went out and he just proved me right tonight. That is what he did. He proved me right. A strong outing. So, he's been one of the most important arms in this Cubs rotation this season. And I don't think many people really realize that, because you hear Matthew Boyd, you hear the name. It's not a sexy name. You're not expecting it to be the guy. He has been the guy. Go look at the stats. And you're not hearing his name in every All-Star conversation, but maybe you should be. Boyd, coming into this game, sitting at a 2.65 ERA through 91 innings with a 1.10 whip and more than 80 strikeouts and just 21 walks. That right there is veteran efficiency. He's not blowing hitters away. He's not putting up the huge strikeout numbers that, a regular ace may do, but he's controlling the game. He's hitting his spots, and he's giving the Cubs a real chance every fifth day to win the game. And that's what you need, especially with these injuries in the starting rotation, these question marks that you've had, these big blows, losing Steele, and then just recently we got Imanaga back, but those were two huge blows. And Matthew Boyd has been able to keep the ship afloat. And what's especially impressive with Matthew Boyd, for me, is his command. Recently he went on a run where he faced 70 straight batters without issuing a walk. And we all know about that. Because that's the kind of consistency that is just going to win you games. And it's going to keep your team in it no matter what. Even if your offense is struggling, he's going to be out there and perform. And that's what he does. He's just 2 years removed from Tommy John. And it's a very rare thing to have a guy come back from that, especially with his caliber, and just be that guy that you can rely on in the rotation, especially, like I said, with these injuries. It's a huge deal. And it's not just stats. Boyd stepped up as a leader as well on this team. A lot of people will point to Justin Turner as being a mentor guy and other veterans on this team, but Boyd has stepped up as well. And behind closed doors, he has helped Cade Horton, adjust to life in the big leagues and just being in a big league rotation. And in a clubhouse, he's trying to find himself. And Boyd's been there for him, and that presence has been huge. But back to the All-Star thing, he could be an All-Star. I think people forget that fans do not vote for pitching for All-Star, so it's not the whole, vote for the name type of dude. He could literally be an All-Star. And earlier in the season, me and Ron Luce, I think we set the over-under at 3 for the All-Star, and it's looking like the over is going to hit, because tonight's start against the Guardian was a big one. That was a huge start. He goes 7 strong innings, only gives up 2 earned runs, and only walks 1. That's something that can, push him into the All-Star game and push him even into the deeper conversation of becoming an All-Star. And, with the Cubs looking for steady arms to build around, Matthew Boyd's looking like he could be one of them, which is crazy, and I'm sure Tyler's going to be kicking himself about that prediction he made early on. We all make predictions, and we hope that when they're negative, we hope that they just make us look stupid. And that's what it did, because Matthew Boyd's gone out there and he has been great, and surprisingly so. No one else thought he was going to be this good. I don't think anyone else predicted this type of dominance out of him. But right now he has some long-term value on this roster. So he was your biggest spot tonight. Keller comes in. He's also been great. Brad Keller's another guy that just has that kind of moxie, that kind of guy that goes out there and he just shoves it down your throat. Once again, a guy that we saw on paper and did not think that he was going to be that guy. And he has been. He's been that guy. And, earlier in the year with Miguel Vargas, and he just shut that down. He's just got the attitude to be a late inning type of guy, be your bridge to Daniel Palencia, who I'm going to talk about in a second. We've been blessed with this bullpen. I mean, you got to admit that we have been blessed with this bullpen. I came into this year very much worried about this bullpen. I thought that we were definitely going to have some struggles early on. It wasn't smooth sailing. I mean, obviously, but to Craig Counsell's credit, we don't give him a ton of credit, but I'm going to give him credit here. He does know how to figure it out later in the year, and he's got his group of guys firing on all cylinders right now, which brings me to a guy that I'm super excited about. I know we've talked about him before on this show, and I'm just glad that he has the opportunity to be a closer because he has the stuff. He really has the stuff. And when Porter Hodge works his way back into the higher leverage type of role, I still want to see him be a setup guy for Daniel Palencia. Daniel Palencia has the raw stuff to be a dominant closer in this game. The only thing that holds Daniel Palencia back is his control. That is it. He has the stuff. He has the ability to miss a little bit with his high velocity. He's going to miss barrels. And tonight he strikes out too, and he closes the door. He shuts the door on this thing. No drama, no hits given up. And it was great. And it's great to have a guy like that in the back of the bullpen. And it's great to have a guy that can step up, when someone gets injured. It just seems like it's the next man ready. And this is what makes this Cubs team so special this year is people forget they're battling a lot of injuries. A lot of guys are injured, and they're coming back. They're working their way back. I did hear about, Miguel Amaya as well as Assad. And those are two guys that you would like to have down the stretch. But the Cubs have been able to weather the storm very well this year. And with guys, like PCA and Tucker, they can carry this team in certain spots. But then also when the offense goes dry, the pitching seems to pick it up as well. So this team can just beat you in so many different ways. And we've talked about that this year. But today it really felt like the long ball was the nail in the coffin. And that's something that I want to talk about right now. Seiya Suzuki as a DH has been so special for me. And I didn't really expect it. I didn't know what we were going to get out of Seiya Suzuki as a DH. I didn't know if he was going to be able to make that mental leap, because when you're playing in the field and then you're so used to being out there, especially Seiya, and you have a couple really bad plays. He wrote on his glove earlier this year, you catch the ball or you're going to get fired. He's got some scars from the outfield. When you have that mental hurdle to get over, it doesn't always work out that you're going to be a good DH. But let's give some overdue credit to Seiya Suzuki because he's been one of the most important pieces of this Cubs season. And some people might think I'm crazy for saying that, but he has literally been one of their most reliable all-around power guys. He's been locked in at the plate. He's batting over 290 with an OPS, I think, north of 850. And he continues to show that he has great bat-to-ball skills and ability, especially on the power side. But really this year, what sets him apart from the other years is the consistency. He's really learned he's got a great eye at the plate, but he's learned to forget it when the umpire screws him over because we know it's going to happen. He gets over all of the time. But in the past years, it looks like he let that affect him. This year, it does not. It seems like he's being a lot more consistent at the plate, and that is exactly what you need. And when the Cubs lineup has gone cold, the guys that are out in the field, he comes off that bench and he swings it. More times than not, he is swinging it and getting you the power that you need. And just like tonight, that is the difference maker in the game. That was the nail in the coffin, that moonshot right there. I knew right as he hit that, game over, the bullpen's going to be able to ride this one out, and it's done. And that is something that you need when you have innings that you need to cover. The pressure is taken off of that bullpen a lot more when you have a guy that can go put one in the seats, and then it's not just a bloop and a blast type of game. Because when it's just a bloop and a blast type of game, the pressure, the adrenaline, everything runs higher. So Seiya's been the one guy that you can kind of count on to string together those powerful at bats, keep innings alive, and drive in runs in some big spots. And he has also stepped up in the field. He's been out in the field. He was out in left field earlier this year. He's made some great catches out there. I can already see that he has some improved routes, the way he's running after the baseball. And that's also just another great thing for this Cubs team because, knock on wood, God forbid, if there's another injury in the outfield, you know that Seiya is going to be able to go out there and hold his own. And like I said, I think he has some scars, especially from that Braves game. God, I know I have some scars from that Braves game. I'm sure everyone else has some scars as well. He can go out now, and you at least have some confidence that he's going to be able to hold his own out in the field. And that's just been great. And, he is going to continue to build on that. And I don't think he's always going to be a DH. I really don't. I don't think that the rest of his career he's just going to be DH Suzuki. But he's just bringing something to this Cubs lineup that has been sorely missed in the past years is power. And I know that other guys like, PCA and Tucker, they're all delivering with power as well. But power from the DH is a significant thing, especially with the National League having the DH as a newer type of role. I mean, it's a significant thing. And beyond the box score, his presence even. He's a very calm guy. And that's a very calm veteran presence in the clubhouse that you need, especially when you're going through a rough stretch like they have been going through recently. Guys like PCA, they run hot. They're going to be emotional. And even Michael Busch, they're young guys. They're still adjusting to these ups and downs of the full, 162 games that the season brings. And it's grueling. And only true veterans are there to be able to take away that edge and bring you back down to earth and keep you being the player that you know you can be. So he really knows how to manage the grind. He's really, a great teammate. Everybody says great things about Seiya. You watch interviews with Seiya. He's just so funny all around. And I just feel like he doesn't get enough love, really. Probably just because other guys are doing so well. So I definitely wanted to bring him up tonight because with all the noise around the trade deadlines and the extensions and even, the injuries and such, Seiya's shown up every day, plays hard, continues to produce. And like I said, it's easier to get distracted by flashy names like PCA, Tucker, even Ian Happ. But Suzuki is one of the reasons why these Cubs are just doing so well because when those guys can't, they're not always going to be able to perform, he's right there to go ahead and put one in the seats. And that's a big difference maker there. So if you're talking about MVP specifically for this team, you have to at least look at Seiya Suzuki because he's been a big factor to this Cubs season for sure. And honestly, there's other guys as well that you can kind of point to that don't get enough love or credit because of the flashier names. And one of them, which is surprising to me as well, is Carson Kelly. And he really heated up tonight. He had a couple really good plate appearances tonight as well. But Carson Kelly, all you're looking for out of a catcher, especially in his role, is to just not be a black hole in the lineup. And he's been so much more than that. He is very much an underappreciated piece because with Miguel Amaya dealing with the injury that he is dealing with, Kelly stepped into this full-time catching role and done more than hold the line. He's anchored the whole pitching staff. Obviously, Reese McGuire has come aboard as well, and he just hits dingers. That's just all he does. He doesn't do anything else. But honestly, Carson Kelly needs some more love. I mean, first and foremost, he's elite behind the plate. He calls a great game. Pitchers trust him. And even like when he was working with Ben Brown earlier in the season to try to just harness his electric stuff that he has, that we all know he has, you can tell that Kelly's been there before and he's a big anchor in this staff. So he deserves a lot of credit too. And people forget that he wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, Amaya was supposed to get full runway here. And I'm sure Carson Kelly pretty much understood that he wasn't going to be a full-time catcher. And once again, that's a mental game. And offensively, no one's expecting Carson to hit like a cleanup guy. But early on in the seaon, that's exactly what he did. He delivered in some huge key moments. He had some huge home runs, and lately he's had a couple of clutch doubles, and also, when you have a guy on third and you have a guy like Carson Kelly, with less than 2 outs, guy at third, he can situationally hit and get you that sac fly to get you that extra run. He can make the adjustment to not just swing for the fences every single time. And like I said, I mean, if you're not a black hole in the lineup, that's really the best you can hope for out of a catcher, and he's been much more. So, honestly, maybe the biggest thing with Carson Kelly is that stability, just on the field and behind the plate with the bat. He's just been great. So with Amaya out, the Cubs needed someone to take over, and he's been that guy. So that's been great to see. I mean, overall, this was just such a good game. And like I said, the Cubs really needed it because you were coming into this stretch, and it just like the vibes just felt off. I think we can all agree the vibes have felt off. Milwaukee's been white hot. The Cardinals, the Fugazi Cardinals, have been sucking ass, and they're going to come into Wrigley Field sucking ass, and we're going to build a huge cushion over them. I'm not worried about the Fugazi Cardinals. Let's get that straight right now. They do not worry me. If anyone is to worry me, and I hate to say it, it is the Brewers. And I'm not even that worried about them, but I mean, it's getting close. This is getting close. They were postponed tonight in Queens against the Mets, but it's getting a little scary with them. Let's just be honest, okay? So coming into this game, you really needed to start off the series right, and that is exactly what the Chicago Cubs team did tonight. I mean, and that's what good teams do, rather. They just start off series right so that they can set themselves up to either win or get the sweep. In my opinion, right now, you got to set yourself up for a huge homestand. Just, dominate. Honestly, just dominate this homestand. And I think all of that negative, stupid Cubs Twitter talk is all going to go by the wayside, because if you win the series against Cleveland, you win the series against the Cardinals, it's huge. But if you can get one of the sweeps, preferably the Cardinals, if you're going to get a sweep, if you're going to pick it, you'll be in a great spot here. So I'm really not worried about the Cubs at all. I've said it all in all throughout the whole season. I'm not worried about the Cubs. I was talking to my girlfriend's brother on Saturday, and we were talking about, the hysteria of the Cubs fans and how they lose their minds and so quickly too. So quickly people forget how good this season has been and how good these players are. I mean, we haven't even talked tonight about the aggressiveness on the base paths and all the stolen bases. It's such a difference from previous years. They stay aggressive. They're putting the pressure on these teams. They're not letting up. It's very big differences than what we've been used to in the past years. And I hate to say it. I hate to be this guy, but I feel like they've caught lightning in the bottle, and they need to push all their chips in this season. I do not think this is a team that is a dynasty team. I don't think they're built for the long run. I think they caught lightning in the bottle. Everything fell in place this year, and they need to push all the chips in, especially with Tucker. We just saw in Houston Cam Smith, and you don't want to regret that. I'm just going to say it there, because right now you can't regret it. You can't look back and go, oh, well, we lost Cam Smith. Look how Cam Smith's doing right now. Because you got Tucker, and Tucker's an all-star, okay? You can't regret it. You can't have any regrets right now. But I'll tell you what. If you don't sign Tucker to a long-term extension, at the very least, you better have a very bad taste in your mouth from that trade. Even if you do go all the way to the World Series and you don't win the World Series, you still better have a bad taste in your mouth from that trade, because this is your time to show Tucker, hey, we're the team you want to be at. He went out with the boys yesterday on the lake. He brought his foundation today to Chicago, which is amazing for Tucker and for the city of Chicago. everything's set up for Ricketts to open his pocketbook and just keep him here. But will he? I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. You need to push all your chips in at this point, and you need to go for the World Series. And that's going to come with the deadline. And I'm sure the boys and us will be, talking all up until the deadline about this trade, that trade, Eugenio Suarez, so many names. And I can't wait to talk about it. But really, a lot needs to be done. And if you think that there's just a couple holes to fill, there's not. There's quite a few. I mean, you're going to need – look at your bench. Your bench right now is not playoff caliber, not even close. You're going to need to get some depth pieces on the bench. I do think you're going to need to get a good bat at third base. If you can't, you can't. But Shaw's just not going to cut it. He's been great defensively, but you need a strong, presence, good bat at third base. If you go and get Eugenio Suarez, I mean, that's a game changer. It really is. I know you're not going to get everything you want, but there you go. So you have a bench bat that you really need. You really do want a third base bat. You're going to want a reliever, a great reliever, and then you're going to want a starting pitcher. That's 5 holes to fill. So Jed better be busy. I saw a report today that, the Cubs are going to win the trade deadline. I've heard that before. Go and show me it, because they need to win the trade deadline. They have to go all in on this year. This is the year that they have to push all of the chips in. There's just no waiting pat this year at all. I mean, you can't bet on next year. You can't bet that Tucker's going to be here. You can't bet that these guys are going to be performing the way that they're performing, way past what their back of their baseball card would be. You can't bet on any of that. So it starts with the trade deadline. And honestly, right now, it starts with just finishing out this first half of the season. And the Cubs, by winning tonight and starting off so well, I mean, they're putting themselves in a good position to finish off the first half of the season right. And, it's a great segue into tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Mr. Shota Imanaga. Personally, my favorite pitcher on the entire Cubs staff. I've always loved Shota Imanaga from day one of spring training. I have been beating the drum for this guy. I love Shota Imanaga. I was made fun of. I want to reiterate this. I was made fun of for talking about his strikeout stuff because he's a fly ball pitcher. Okay. He is amazing, and he does have strikeout stuff, so I don't want to hear it. Imanaga tomorrow on the mound against Mr. Bibby, against Tanner Bibby, And this is another game where the Cubs have to go out there and take the pressure off the starting pitcher. Shota just had a really good start. I'm not sure if they're going to have him on a pitch count again. I'm sure they will. I don't know if it's going to be 80 pitches. I don't know if it's going to be 85 pitches. Who knows? I'm sure he's going to be on a pitch count. So the way that you alleviate that type of, I really want to get him deep into this game, is take the pressure off of him. Let him throw strikes. Let him pitch to contact. Keep him in the game longer. To do that, you got to get runs. You got to get runs, and you got to let him feel like, I can give up a homer here and there, because he really is a fly ball pitcher type of guy. So you do need to take the pressure off if you want him to get deep into the game. And, his alias Mike needs to get at least to the 6th inning tomorrow just to really set yourself up to where you're not using a lot of arms this series, because I really do have a feeling that this Cardinals series is going to be a bloody battle, if you will. I really do. I think that they're going to fight really hard. I do still think they're the Fugazi Cardinals for sure, but they're going to fight very hard because they know that their chances are slipping away quickly. And this is their chance to kind of get a quick work back up in the division is beat us, but they're not going to be able to, because we need to set ourselves up well in this series to go ahead and have all of the cavalry ready for St. Louis. So that's the way you win tomorrow. Is it's easy to say, just go score 8 runs or 10 runs, and that's how you win. But really, tomorrow is about putting up a crooked number, letting Shota feel that there's no pressure and he can pitch to contact. He doesn't have to get cute. He can get deeper into the game, and then you only use 1 or 2 arms out of that bullpen, which would be best case scenario. If you do have him only go to the 5th and you need to go to Flexen and Flexen needs to get you eat a couple innings, so be it. But really, your dream scenario is that he can work deep into this ball game, at least through the 6th inning. That would be amazing. Quality start, a la Matthew Boyd, who's just Mr. Quality Start. That's what you need out of Imanaga, and that's how you're going to win this game. So I'm real excited for tomorrow. We've talked a lot about tonight, and we've talked a lot about this Cubs team and, some players that don't get enough recognition, in my opinion. But I could have honestly sat here and talked about so many other guys tonight, and we could go through each and every guy. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but everybody all throughout the lineup has been really a big contributor. Obviously, Shaw is kind of on a cold streak right now, very cold, but he walks. There's really no black hole, if you will, on this lineup, and that's really special. And then on Thursday, you're going to have Cade Horton on the mound. And Mr. Horton, that is going to be a very important start because it's going to, once again, it's going to take you into the St. Louis series, but it's really more important for Horton. He really struggled last time out. I hope that he can really settle things down, use his he has a huge plethora of pitches that he can use, and he's got a great, he can set himself up to go deeper into games, but he just can't because of his control issue, and then he leaves a lot of balls over the plate. When you're a guy that's used to minor leagues, this is going to happen. You're going to come up to the major leagues, and you're going to feel like you can get away with this, but you can't get away with it here. Guys are way better up here. If you leave it over the plate, they are going to make you pay. So Horton's got to be good too. And honestly, you got to try to, at least, like I said, you got to either sweep this series or you got to sweep the next series, preferably the next series. For me, if you're going to have one of these losses, I think it is going to be the Horton start. I don't think he's going to be as bad as last time. I just don't know if they'll have it. And on these last days, for some reason, the getaway days, obviously it's not a getaway day, but the getaway days, Counsell punts on the lineup. And I don't know what the hell that is, but he just does. And hopefully he doesn't. It's Thursday, but I don't know. He very well might. So I can't really tell you one way or the other if he will, but it's possible. I would not be shocked if he did. So that's what they need to do in order to get themselves, to Friday. TBD with Friday. Who knows what's going to happen on both sides? We have no idea. But I'm looking forward to it. And I'm really excited because tonight they kind of turned the tides for me. I feel like the tides have turned. I feel like we can all get excited again. Let's get excited about Cubs baseball, and let's move on and continue to win series. That's what we need to do. Continue to win series. That being said, I had a great time with you guys tonight. I talked a lot. Nobody commented. That is okay. I can talk a lot. So there you go. But I want to tell you guys to go check out ontapsportsnet.com. We have great content there. So many of our Chicago sports teams. We have Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We have golf. We even have pop culture. We have a beer section. Anything that you think as a Chicago or a Midwestern sports fan would need, we got it. Go check it out on tapsportsnet.com. Some fantastic articles by some fantastic people that work their asses off. So give us the support. Go out there, click around. Feel free to view whatever you would like to view. And help support us because, like I said, we have some great guys here that work very hard and we produce great content. So go check us out. Well, I did talk a lot, but I had a really great time with all of you tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. The only way that I and the boys, we're not here, it's just me, but the boys will be back here soon. know how to do. And that is to say, fuck the Fugazi Cardinals and let's go Cubbies.